Madam Senator, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Mark.
Unless I'm wrong, corn has a lot of votes in the Senate.
True.
So doesn't that make this kind of an uphill struggle for you?
It is an uphill struggle, but I think it is very important that we start this process of making people think about what is happening. We not only have an ethanol mandate of $9 billion, but we also have a tariff on imported ethanol, which raises the price, and we have subsidies for corn-based ethanol. So it's really three breaks that ethanol gets at a time when we're seeing the price of food go up, which is directly attributable to these mandates and these subsidies. So I think we need to look at the big picture here and see what we can do to keep food prices from jumping at the same time that we have these fuel prices that are just out of sight.
Senator, should this legislation pass, what sort of relief could consumers see and how soon could they see it?
Well, I think everything takes time, but I do think we have to start. I think that by freezing the mandate, we won't encourage more farmers to crowd out their corn crops or their other crops with corn. We're crowding out wheat, soy, maize, and that's causing the rise in the price of all of those commodities. So for one thing, I don't think we'd see an increase in corn being just grown in place of these other commodities that are causing a rise in price of bread and real staples in the family's budget.
Well, perhaps these rises in food prices are temporary, passing as the system readjusts to the new reality. Maybe you're jumping the gun here.
Well, I think the rise in fuel costs is probably the biggest part of the increase in food prices. And if we can get the price of fuel down, then I think we will see the biggest immediate impact. And part of the rise in fuel costs is the cost of ethanol. So I think that we need to take steps to address the issues of rising fuel prices and rising food prices and try to give the families a little relief, particularly those on fixed incomes.
Senator Hutchison, earlier on CNBC, we spoke to legendary oilman Boone Pickens, and he called ethanol a joke, but he did give us his way to end our addiction to oil. If you can, just take a listen to what he had to say first.
The only fuel that can back out the imports is natural gas. And you could back out, I have a way to do it, and it's a legitimate way. It can happen, and you can reduce imports by 40%.
Is natural gas the answer, Senator?
Oh, I think definitely. We have natural gas reserves in our own country that we could be producing, but there are laws against it. If we let states have the option of drilling on the intercontinental shelf out in the deep waters of the Atlantic and Pacific, there are gas reserves there that we believe would really cut the import necessities by as much as 50%. So I think we have our natural resources that are not being developed, and I think natural gas is a major way that we could alleviate some of our energy costs that are going up so high.
Let's return to this issue of how subsidized ethanol is. I believe the subsidy is 50 or 51 cents a gallon. Why not start smaller? Just say, propose to eliminate that subsidy. That would bring more market forces into play.
Yes, actually, I am working on an amendment right now with Dianne Feinstein that would start bringing down the subsidy and the tariff at the same time, so that you wouldn't have an increase in ethanol prices. You would keep the price down, but you would also take the subsidies down. So if you take away the subsidy, or say ratchet it down, not just take away all of the subsidies, but say cut it in half, and then you cut the tariffs in half, that would bring the cost of ethanol way down.
All right, Senator, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison of Texas.